Hey friends, welcome back to the channel today, and today we're discussing the differences between the Kodak Ektar H35, which is right here, and my main squeeze, the Ilford Sprite 35. It's wild that we even have these two plastic toy cameras on the market today, especially since people have been stating that film was dead since the invention of digital cameras. But here we are today. We are in actually kind of a really funky quandary regarding where we are at in film photography. Camera manufacturers are still creating new cameras like the Leica M6, and at the other end of the spectrum, we are getting a minor flood to the market with new plastic toy cameras like the Sprite and the Ektar. However, on the other side, film cost has gone up, which may become a deterrent for some newcomers into the film industry. So in recent weeks, we have seen the price of Kodak color film increase by about 30% or more, but thankfully the cost of black and white film has remained somewhat stable. And now we have entered into an exciting territory with cheap film cameras like the Sprite and the Ektar. Now I'm excited about these two cameras because these two cameras are almost identical and serve the same premise as a point and shoot film camera in which you can shoot any film stock you want. Still, we have some minor differences between these two cameras that you may want to know about before you buy one. Now, the most significant difference between these two cameras, the Sprite and the Ektar H35, is that the Ektar H35 is a half frame camera and the Sprite is a full frame 35mm camera. You will have twice as many frames on a 36 frame 35mm roll of film, that's a tongue twister, on the Ektar than on the Ilford Sprite. That means you will have 72 shots on the Ektar versus 36 on the Sprite. On the Ektar H35, you'll have 2 frames per one 35mm frame on the Sprite. And what that means, since you are splitting that one frame on 35mm film, is that the Ektar, your images will be in the portrait orientation unless you turn the Ektar H35 sideways. Now your Ilford Sprite camera shoots in landscape unless you turn it sideways, the shoot in portrait mode. It's kind of difficult to understand, but also kind of simple. Another difference, although it may not be a big difference, is the light gathering capability between these two cameras. The Kodak Ektar H35 has a 22mm lens set at a fixed aperture of f9.5. The Ilford has a 31mm lens with a fixed aperture of f9. The Ilford has a half stop more light gathering capability than the Kodak Ektar. This may not be a deal breaker for many, but still, suppose you have a 100-speed film with only 30 minutes of natural light and no AA battery in the camera for the flash. In that case, the extra half stop may be the difference between getting a usable frame or waiting to shoot more photographs on the next day when you have plenty of natural light left. The other difference is the button layout, and it's an interesting choice by the Kodak Ektar, and that's to have the film advance level at the bottom of the camera instead of at the top of the camera. This design element was a very perplexing choice by Kodak. Almost every film camera with a manual advance button has always been at the top of the camera. The Ilford sits where you would typically find it. It is something you can get used to, but I did find myself having to take my eyes from the camera in order to advance the film to the next frame, and I did miss a few shots of my family just acting silly while shooting with the Ektar. Now I want to talk about the flash on each camera. It works in a pinch, but both aren't particularly great, and both take a long time to recycle at about 15 to 20 seconds. The older the battery is in the camera, the longer it takes to recycle to use the flash again. Side note, you do not need a battery in either one of these cameras to take photos during the day on either camera, so you can just put a roll of film in, go out and just shoot with it. The last thing I want to talk about is the price of these two cameras. The Ilford Sprite has been out for a few years, but it will only set you back about $30. Not that bad. The Ektar H35 was released in 2022 and sits at the price of about $60, but you can be found on sale occasionally from $45 to $50. Ultimately, you will have to ask if 36 and 24 additional frames are worth the extra $30 when it comes to the Ektar H35. Now, both of these cameras are great. I mean, they are what they are. They're plastic toy cameras that offer a low barrier of entry for someone who wants to dabble in film. They're great. I have absolutely no complaints with them, and I shoot with these regularly when I just want to shoot some film and I know I'm going to have plenty available light. If I was choosing between the two, I personally would probably choose the Ilford Sprite because I have a lot more 36 rolls of film laying around the house than I do 24. I typically only like to shoot half frames with a 24 exposure roll of film versus 36 because I just find that 72 exposures is such a hoss to get through. But the great thing about it is you can put a roll of film in here and get great results. Are the images going to be sharp? No, they're not. But that's not really what these cameras are meant for. These cameras are meant for you to have something that's cheap, that if it breaks, you can go out and easily buy another one. They're readily available on the market, and to just take snapshots of things that you love. And if you wanted to get in the film without having to buy, you know, a $200 camera or a $100 35mm camera and something that's kind of light and plasticky and just fun to use, any one of these cameras would do you justice. I think the only thing that you have to figure out is how much you want to spend and how many frames do you want per roll. Either way, they're great choices. We're in an exciting place, but a perplexing place in the film market today. But if you're thinking about picking up either one of these, both are a great suggestion. Well, my name's Tim Riddick, and that's all I got for you guys today, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.